Lisa here, and I'm hopping on just to have a little conversation about being a badass. Since I started even talking about this Warrior of Light basic training program that I'm launching, I had one friend message me and she was like, "Oh, you're like a cosmic badass." And I had another friend message and say, "Ooh, you're like the spiritual Sarah Connor. The badass mom from the Terminator movies." And in both of those instances, it cracks me up because I'm going to be honest. The last way I think of myself is as any kind of a badass. My whole, 5'2" frame that doesn't really have a badass bone in its body. That whole concept just made me giggle. But I got to think of, what does it mean to be a spiritual badass? Or if we're talking warrior of light, that's kind of spiritual badass, right? So what on earth does that even mean? I realized I needed to shift my perspective of what a warrior or even a badass is. Because in my mind, badass was like, big burly biker dudes who were, I love the BACA guys here. I don't know if this is a nationwide thing, but here in this area, we have BACA, which stands for Bikers Against Child Abuse. And they're guys who will show up in their full biker gear when kids who have faced child abuse are in court, basically there to support them and act as their protectors in a court type setting. And I just think that that's cool, being a badass for a cause. I think that that's really phenomenal. But it got me thinking about, how the hell does that apply to me? Because, I have had exactly one experience of punching somebody in the face. And I'm going to share that story, but it's not a physical badass thing, right? I mean, my one story, my little brother's going to kill me for this, but I had mentioned in a video before that I used to suffer from sleep paralysis. And so as a result, I spent a lot of nights on the couch because for some reason, when I would fall asleep on the couch, the sleep paralysis thing didn't hit me as bad as when I tried to fall asleep on my bed. I had been away at college, for came home for a while. My brother, I was asleep on the couch. My brother wakes up super early. He was going hunting or fishing with one of his buddies. I'm asleep on the couch. He comes in, I kid you not, drops his pants, puts his bare ass on my cheek, and rips the biggest fart on the planet right on my cheek. I'm asleep. It startles me. I jump up and I pop him in the mouth. And then I went, "Oh shit, I'd better hide." And I ran to the bathroom and locked myself in because I knew the moment he was done doubling over in laughter, he was going to come find me and it was not going to be good for me. Right? That was my one experience of any kind of what some people would consider, physical anything. And if physical anything has to do with being a badass, then that's not me. That's exactly my one experience. So I needed to reevaluate what this idea of warrior means. What does it mean to be a peaceful warrior, like the Dan Millman books? What does that mean? And can I be that? Because I'll be honest, I've spent a lot more time feeling like a spiritual chicken shit than I have feeling like a spiritual warrior. And part of it is because I live in the buckle of the Bible Belt. I carry a belief system that I have just known deep in my core is true for me since I was a little bitty girl that does not fit the prevailing common attitudes or beliefs where I live. And so I have felt a lot more like I needed to muzzle myself or play small or not share my beliefs or my thoughts because it was unsafe. Sharing any of that in a place where it was not necessarily welcome was scary. And what I've come to realize is that there's probably a lot of folks out there who feel like the oddballs, who feel like maybe even the weirdos. We're going to have that conversation tomorrow, but who feel maybe that they don't fit because of their spiritual beliefs, because of the things that at their core they know to be true. And they're not talking either. And I'm going to be real honest, looking out around me right now at the world, at people with the megaphones and the soapboxes and, the bully pulpits, and being willing and able to spew hate and division and generate fear and just all the yuck all around with reckless abandon. They don't care, right? And they're loud about it. But yet those of us who believe in things like peace and light and love and spiritual concepts that maybe, don't fit into some neat dogma box somewhere, that we're the ones being quiet. And quite frankly, right now, I think that what this world needs more than anything is a whole hell of a lot more light and love and willingness to be courageous for a cause, willingness to maybe step into that spiritual badass role, knowing that the only way we defeat darkness, the only way we overcome darkness or not let it win, is by holding our light with all of our courage, with all of our bravery, even when it means standing against maybe what's popular opinion around us. Perhaps it's especially when it's about standing against what's popular opinion around us. Now, for some of us, we have lifetimes of soul memory where that did not go so well for us. Hello, some of you, I may have been next to at the guillotine back in the day, losing our heads for speaking our truth in a way that wasn't consistent with prevailing popular culture. Is that a reason to muzzle ourselves now? And I'm going to say no. I'm going to say perhaps one of the most spiritual badass things we can do is actually stand in our light, actually hold our light and hold our truth, and give other people permission and the opportunity to have community in standing in their light and holding their truth when so many around us are screaming in everything that's not light. Maybe it's a willingness to actually look at the dark, knowing that spiritual bypassing doesn't do us any favors, right? When we don't actually acknowledge that the dark's there and aren't willing to look at it and have the courage to deal with it, we can't transmute it. We can't change it. We can't make sure that light wins, either in our own heart or out in the world. So maybe it's especially in those very situations where I felt like the safest thing to do in the past was be a spiritual chicken shit, hide my head, pull it into that turtle shell and just stay safe. Maybe it's the opposite of that, that actually is what being a warrior of light's all about. We have an opportunity right now to do what we can to call for greater peace, for greater love, for greater harmony, for greater union, unity, to allow those concepts that bring us together rather than divide us to pave the way into our future. The conversation around us right now is anything but that. We are needed to change that conversation, but that entire change has to start right here within our own hearts and in our willingness and our courage to actually hold on to that light when dark is being thrust upon us all around, being willing to hold on to that light, to hold on to that love, to look the dark right in the eye, whether it's in people or in the astral realms or wherever, and say, you don't get to win here. You don't get to win here. Because love will always be more powerful. Always be more powerful. Now, there are a lot of people that think maybe love is weak and that talking about love and peace is a sign of weakness. Quite frankly, I call bullshit on that. Everything that I've seen, it's those who are willing to stand true to what's in their heart, to allow love to be the force that guides them, to actually be willing to be strong for peace, not just strong for some other battle, but strong for peace. Those are the most courageous people. It's not very hard to try to sow seeds of fear in somebody else. But man, standing true to courage and to love and to light and to the idea that there is a better tomorrow on the future, on the horizon, and that we can play a role in ushering that in, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. And it doesn't mean being brazen and being, loud and boisterous and violent. That's not what it's about at all. It's about standing in that quiet space. It's about holding that heart filled with love and letting that be the thing that radiates out. It's about actually being willing to find forgiveness rather than judgment. Actually willing to send love to the enemy and gratitude. Think about that. How bad would that piss the enemy off, right? To be grateful to them, because they are actually the very things that allow us to test our ability to stand in our own light and just exactly how strong that light can be. When we don't have struggles around us, we never really get tested. But when we can have the struggles, face the dark, face the enemy, whoever they claim to be, and still hold our light and still operate from a place of love and still operate from a place of gratitude and non-judgment and even forgiveness, that that's the heart of a warrior. That's where real courage comes in, because sometimes it's a hell of a lot easier to lash out. Feels better, at least for the short term, but that's not how we win long-term victories on behalf of light. So I know that there are some folks out there who struggle with this concept, who maybe are also in a position where their ideas, their beliefs are a little bit against the grain with, when it comes to prevailing cultural thought out there. Maybe they feel like the outsiders, that it's not safe to be fully who they are in their spiritual beliefs. I know I was that person. And, I know that there are others like us out there. Maybe it's those who that raw authenticity or that vulnerability of actually feeling the love and being able and willing to let that lead, that can feel scary. But that's actually where we get our strength. And it's the strongest people at their very core who do exactly that. I'm working to create an environment where we can come together and do exactly these things, where we can grow in our spirituality, where we can grow as a warrior of light, where we can grow as spiritual badasses on behalf of all that's good in this world, giving hope that all that's bad in this world doesn't get to win out in the end. If you're interested in being a part of a community like that, let's chat. Let's chat. The Warrior of Light Basic Training is a 6-week program that's launching next week. I would love to see you in the program. I'll put the link in the comments down below. But just know that when it comes to being a warrior of light, it's a heart full of courage. That's what matters. And that really means a heart full of love, and letting that heart full of love be exactly what leads and guides us into the future. I hope you have a fantastic Tuesday, and I will talk to you soon. Let me know if you have any questions. Talk to you soon.